So we're going to need some copper wire, mine is 14 gauge, some jewelry making pliers, some Cory shells, and various cylindrical shaped items that are about the same size as your locs. And also we're going to need a sander so we can sand down all the edges of the copper. So before I start making the jewelry, I sand down the end of the wire. I bought this tool and it is awesome. It's way better than using sandpaper, which is what I used to do. And after that, I switch the heads to the more finer tip and it just makes it a little bit more polished. So I'm taking my round nose pliers and I'm wrapping the copper wire around itself to create a swirl. And I just keep doing that until I get the size that I want. And then eventually I switch to the needle nose plier. It's kind of easier once you get to a certain size to use the needle nose pliers. So yeah, I just do that. After I make the swirl, I place it on top of one of the cylindrical objects and make sure that the copper wire is sticking out and is perpendicular to the pen. So I just wrap the wire around the pen a few times until I get it to the length that I want it to be. So I snip off the excess wire, leaving just enough to do another swirl, and of course I sand down that end. And this part is a little weird. You have to like flick your wrist in a certain way. Like with the first swirl, if you flick your wrist counterclockwise, when you're making this swirl, you have to flick your wrist clockwise. So that's what I did. With the first swirl on the top, I flicked my wrist counterclockwise, and with this one to start, I flick my wrist clockwise. It's kind of confusing, but I hope it makes sense. But if you don't do it that way, for some reason it turns out looking weird. But this is how it ends up looking, and this is an example of how it ends up looking if you swirl it the wrong way. I don't know why, but that's how it looks. The one on the right, you can see the swirl on the bottom is like, it's wonky. It's not hanging down nice and gracefully like the one on the left. So yeah. So this next one is easy. We're just going to make a swirl just like we did with the last one. And we're also going to wrap it around the marker or pen or whatever, just like we did with the last one. So just going to snip off the end and of course sand down that end. And then after I sanded it down, I wanted the coils to be a little bit closer to each other, so I just squished it down with my fingers, and that's how it looks. So this next one is easy as well. I just bend the end at a 90-degree angle, and I just keep bending 90-degree angles, and I'm basically making a swirl that is a square. So I just keep on doing that until I get it to the right size square that I want. So of course I wrapped the copper around the marker, and I did that until I got the right amount of loops that I wanted. And they were too far spread, so I just used my fingers to squish those coils together. Then I snipped off the end, and of course, I sand down that piece as I do with every other end, and I just bent it at a 90-degree angle again, making a square, but this square is not going to be as big as the other square. I want it to be smaller, and that's how this one looks. Now this one is the easiest of all I did was wrap it around the marker, and then I squished it down, but I didn't want the spirals to be all perfect and perfectly spirally, so I was just pushing out some edges, making it jagged, and I just wanted that jagged look. So I took some coils and I pushed it to the side, I twirled it around a little bit. I just did that for a while until I got the desired look I was going for, nice and not perfect. And this is what that one looks like. Very, very easy and simple. So with this one, I started by making a little swirl, just a tiny one. And then after that, I started bending the wire at about a 45-degree angle. Basically with this one, I am making it into a triangular shape. So I just keep on bending in triangle shapes until I get to the size that I want. So you guessed it, of course, I'm wrapping it around the marker, but these coils, I wanted them to be very tight. So after that, I took it off of the marker, and then I started making zigzag shapes. So I just kept doing that until I got the amount of ziggy zaggies that I wanted. And then I put it back onto the marker, and then I did the same amount of coils on the bottom as I did on the top. Then I snipped off the ends, of course, filed it down, and then I pushed the ends to close it and adjusted it as needed, and this is the final look. Just kidding, there's more to do. So unfortunately I had to buy some more wire. This is 20 gauge wire instead of 14 gauge. It's smaller than the other one, so I took that wire and I pushed it through the end of the triangle and I bent it, and I took that little bent piece, which is about 1 inch, and I just wrapped it around the rest of the wire. And then I took that end of the wire and I stuck it through the front of the Cory shell, and I did the same thing I did. I bent it at the back of the Cory shell, and then I took that little tail and I just continued to wrap that around the wire. And now this is the final look. And that's it. And of course this is not only for locks, this could be for twists, for braids, for loose hair, anything you want, as long as it fits nice and snug on your hair. But I made these specifically for my friends who have locks and they are going to model it for me, so make sure you follow them on their social medias because they are so awesome for helping me with this video. But these are the 5 that I made. Click the eye, I put a poll in there. Let me know which one is your favorite. Personally, mine is number 5. Like, I just love it so much.
Bitches on my dick like I'm a motherfucking pastor. My daddy left Hona, I'm a motherfucking bastard.
Niggas kept saying that shit the whole time.
Follow me on Instagram at Ziggy Voodoo Child and add me on Snapchat at I'm Ziggy Rocks.
Don't follow me.
He has a girlfriend.
Yeah, she got a girl. He has a girlfriend, so don't even look at him. I'm gonna blur his face out.
Don't know nobody, always on the job, I got no hobbies. Got my city fucking with me, cause I'm homegrown. Vibing out more than my phone though, leave me alone, me on my own though. I cut that bitch off like a net.